Alright, so here we go. Got a new drawing tablet, pen, and away we were off. Okay, so we were right here, and what I'm going to do now is go get another map. This other map is going to be just grunge. It doesn't have to be anything special, it just needs to vary up this color a little bit. Randomness without the effort. That one is a little too contrasty, and excuse me for like surfing on the other one, but I'm picking out textures, and yeah, you know how it goes. For educational purposes only. So I'm looking for something with pits, and I found something right here. I copy it and I paste it over here. Ooh, right? Okay. So what I'm trying to do is make the ideal texture. And then use that throughout the entire armor set. When I produce, or when I throw down the new pieces of ambient occlusion into this document, I can just plop them down, duplicate them, set them 2 to multiply, 1 to overlay. Okay, now these holes need to be to scale. You don't want these holes as big as that. So something like that maybe. We're going to set this one like the soft light. Perfect. Good, I like that. Again, with the whole duplicating process. This time I'm not going to talk about it, I'm just going to do it so it's really fast. And they're going to get a pattern here again, but I'm going to knock that out using a different technique. Okay, Control E. Take that, duplicate that over. This time I'm going to try to cover over that hole. There we go. Again, fear not about the pattern. I know that's probably what most students fear more is the pattern. You got to understand of scale. If scale is small, pattern don't show up. Okay, Control E. And again, we'll set that to soft light. Okay. Good, I like that. Okay, let's go to normal, and I'm just going to duplicate that over and then shift it over a little bit. Shift it just a couple things with the skosh tool or the arrow tool, and then I'm going to cut away at it. Duplicate that, rotate it, all kinds of craziness. Okay, now I only want this to appear a little bit on things, so I'm just going to cut away at it a little bit where I need it. So I'm taking the eraser tool here. I'm wondering why my That's so weird. Okay. So that's why no pattern is going to show up, is because I'm only using this every once in a while. Now there's many ways to do that. I could actually put a mask over it so it's non-destructive if I wanted to, but I'm not really that concerned about it. Cool. I don't like how blue it is, so we're going to nail down that color. Get it to be a more washed out blue. How do I do that? Very easy. Go over the top of this and make a hue saturation. So I'm going to just saturate this just a little bit. I'm going to get that perfect shade of blue, which is a grayish blue. See, very nice. That's always going to be there. These are always going to stay here. These are going to get grouped together. Okay, there's my palette. These things can now be combined into one. So I can Control E these. Or merge down. I gotta unlock each one though. Now if I get something like that going, I'll just merge my overlays and merge my multiplies. There we go. So I'll have overlays and I'll have multiplies. So this is the key thing. Anytime new pieces come in, I squeeze them between these two. I set them to multiply, set them to overlay, and then I go up here and chomp away at this thing. That's my workflow. Then at the very end, I got something else going on. At the very end, I need to make rough spots where, you know, metal would kind of dissipate against things. You know, like if it rubs against another piece of metal, if you put a piece of armor on enough times, it's going to dent the corners, that type of approach. So that comes into play with this. Brightness contrast. And what I do is I rank up brightness, and then I fill this thing with black. Okay. Now, if I paint with a brush with texture, white, I can really go in here, really zoom, and I can start adding detail. This is the artistic side of things. And this does take a long time. I love doing this part though. This is my favorite part of things, because things start coming to life. You have to lay down all those bases first before you can start doing this though. I'm only going to do this a little bit, but basically what I do is go around all the little tiny ornamental objects in the scene. And sooner or later I get an opacity and flow that I'm happy with. But for right now I'm just working that out. All these little rivets and stuff, I kind of put a little bit of detail in those. Now if you're not an artist, it's okay. You know, this isn't really that hard. If you're an artist, you'll make it look amazing, but you don't need to be a super artist in order to do this. I get very scared students that can't paint, but this isn't really painting. Yeah, I guess it is. So what I'll do is I'll only do like maybe the gauntlet via video. This is why I made those grooves really deep when I did the sculpt, so the ambient occlusion will pick this stuff up and I can see all my areas that I need to touch up. And why I do the UVs so straight on. So I always cut my shells so I have the ability to see this stuff and where it needs to be touched up at. You can see how much detail that put in it. Let me turn that off and then turn it back on. Now certain parts I have a hard time finding. Like this, for instance, I have no idea where height changes are. So a lot of times I'll just cheat and use the normal map. Edit, copy it, and put it over here. Edit, paste it, and that's weird. Let me make sure that this is at the same level. That's 4096, yep. And what's this one? 4096. Oh, yeah, I know what I did. Edit, copy, merge. Edit, paste. There we go. So what I'll do is turn this down quite a bit. It'll tell me where things are at. The bad thing about this is I can't see where I'm really painting all that well. So I get in and get out. In here, I go back to my layer. I'm still painting with that white. I always use pure white, and I always make sure that I adjust these. That way I don't have to pick out a bunch of colors for that. I don't have to pick out a hue of white. I know that pure white is what I'm using. Okay, so now I can pretty much see what I'm doing. I'm looking for that change in color on the normal map. You can see it right here. These are on the inside of things, so I'm not going to play around with those too much. Maybe I'll touch these up a little bit. Okay, now I can turn that normal map off and I can get my scratches. There we go. Now, it goes a little bit more deeper than that, but as far as the video is concerned, you know, it takes a little bit of time and art and everything else, so I just want to show you how technically you can do this and put it back on the mesh. But our goal here is to produce really nice normal maps. That's our goal for this chapter. We've done that, but what I want to do is put some color behind it. Okay, one last thing. An exposure layer over the top of everything. That way I can adjust it for base lighting. Okay, so I'll explain what that is. Basically, it is I want to make sure these maps look good under the default light. I don't want to adjust the light at all. I want to make sure I adjust the color corresponding to a base light. That way, these things look good under even the worst conditions in a game. Alright, so we're going to do that in the next video. We're going to bring these back onto the mesh, and I'm just going to adjust this exposure a little bit. So I'll meet you there.